In this video, you're going to learn the truths that were never taught to you, not to make you cruel, but to make you hard to manipulate. These truths will change how you react, how you speak, and how you decide. They will move you from being predictable to being strategic. Many people won't like this. Some will click away. That's normal. Comfort loves obedience. Truth creates friction. Put your phone face down for a moment and just listen. If this hits you, write "I am the strategist" once in the comments, just to mark the day your mindset changed. Now let's break down the truths you were never taught. The first truth is simple but uncomfortable. When God died, meaning didn't disappear, it got replaced, and most people never chose the replacement. Nietzsche saw that when the old moral systems collapsed, people didn't suddenly become strong creators of their own values. Instead, they grabbed whatever values were easiest, safest, and most approved. This is how herd morality was born. You are told what to care about. You are told what success looks like. You are told what kind of person is good. And if you step outside that frame, you feel guilt, shame, or fear, even if you can't explain why. In real life, this shows up when you do things you hate just to avoid discomfort. You stay in jobs that drain you because leaving feels irresponsible. You stay quiet when disrespected because speaking up feels risky. Nietzsche called this weakness disguised as virtue. He said people praise humility, patience, and self-sacrifice, not because they're always noble, but because they make people easier to control. When you are trained to put yourself last, you become predictable, and predictable people are easy to manage. The power shift here is internal. You stop asking, "Is this allowed?" and start asking, "Is this aligned?" Next time you feel guilt for setting a boundary, don't rush to fix it. Sit with it. Guilt does not mean you're wrong. It often means you're breaking a rule you never agreed to consciously. When you delay your reaction instead of explaining yourself, people feel it. They sense a shift. You are no longer operating on automatic approval mode. Another truth Nietzsche exposed is resentment. He saw that when people feel powerless, they don't always fight back openly. Instead, they become moral. They criticize strength. They shame ambition. They call confidence arrogance. In your life, this looks like people who discourage you when you try to improve. They say things like, "Why are you changing?" or "Don't take life so seriously." What they really mean is, "Your growth reminds me of my stagnation." You might notice this when you start going to the gym, learning a new skill, or setting higher standards. Suddenly, jokes appear, subtle comments, passive resistance. Nietzsche called this slave morality. It flips weakness into goodness and strength into evil. If you absorb this unconsciously, you will sabotage yourself just to stay accepted. The power shift is to stop defending yourself. When someone mocks your discipline or ambition, don't argue, don't explain, just continue. Silence is not weakness here, it's insulation. Your actions will speak louder than any justification. Over time, people either adjust their behavior or drift away. Both outcomes are useful. A third truth is about will to power. This is one of Nietzsche's most misunderstood ideas. He didn't mean domination for the sake of cruelty. He meant the basic drive to expand, to grow, to overcome resistance. When this drive is suppressed, it doesn't disappear, it turns inward. You become anxious, you overthink, you self-criticize. You'll feel restless but stuck. Look at how often you hesitate before speaking, how often you second-guess decisions you already know the answer to. This is your will to power being blocked by fear of judgment. Society rewards compliance, not clarity, so you learn to doubt yourself before anyone else can. The shift here is small but sharp. When you feel the urge to over-explain, stop after the first sentence. When you feel pressure to decide instantly, give yourself time. Say, "I'll get back to you." This creates space. Space restores power. People respect those who move deliberately, not those who rush to please. Another truth Nietzsche revealed is that suffering is not the enemy. Meaningless suffering is. When God died, people lost the framework that gave pain a purpose. Now suffering feels like a mistake, something to avoid at all costs. This makes you fragile. You chase comfort. You fear challenge. You choose the path of least resistance and then wonder why you feel empty. In relationships, this shows up as avoiding hard conversations. At work, it's avoiding responsibility that could lead to growth. Nietzsche believed that strength is built through chosen struggle, not forced suffering, but voluntary difficulty. When you choose the hard thing, you reclaim authorship over your life. The power shift is to stop asking, how do I avoid discomfort? And start asking, what discomfort will make me stronger? Next time you want to escape a difficult moment, stay present, speak clearly, act cleanly. You'll notice a strange thing. The fear fades faster than you expected, and your self-respect grows. Another uncomfortable truth is that most people don't want truth. They want reassurance. When God died, truth stopped being sacred. Comfort took its place. Nietzsche warned that people would prefer illusions that make them feel safe over truths that demand change. This is why honesty is punished socially. This is why being direct feels dangerous. You see this when you give real feedback and get labeled as rude, when you state a clear boundary and get called selfish. Over time, you learn to soften everything. You dilute your words until they mean nothing, and then people stop taking you seriously. The shift is not to become harsh, but to become precise. Say less, but mean it. Speak without emotional charge. Calm, clear, final. You don't need everyone to like you. You need your words to land. When you stop chasing approval, your presence changes. People listen differently. A sixth truth Nietzsche exposed is the danger of living without self-created values. If you don't decide what matters to you, someone else will. Algorithms, trends, family expectations, cultural noise. You end up busy, but directionless, productive but empty. In daily life, this looks like constantly comparing yourself, feeling behind without knowing why, chasing goals that don't satisfy you once achieved. Nietzsche believed the strongest individuals create their own values through deep self-examination and courage. This is rare, and that rarity is exactly what creates power. The shift here is to define a few non-negotiables. Not many, just a few. What you will not tolerate, what you will not chase, what you will not chase, what you will protect. Once these are clear, decisions become easier. You stop leaking energy. People sense this internal order, even if they can't explain it. Now step back and look at what all of this means together. When God died, humanity didn't become free overnight. It became exposed. Without external authority, you either build inner authority or you submit to new, invisible masters. Most people choose submission because it feels safer, but safety has a cost. That cost is power, clarity, and self-respect. If you don't apply these truths, nothing dramatic happens. And that's the danger. You just stay readable, predictable, easy to test, easy to ignore. You keep reacting instead of choosing. Life keeps happening to you instead of through you. You tell yourself you're being patient, but deep down you feel invisible. If you apply them, the shift is quiet but real. People pause before asking things of you. Tests decrease. Respect increases. Not because you demand it, but because you carry yourself differently. You speak less. You decide slower. You tolerate less nonsense. Inside you feel calmer, less needy, more grounded. This is not about becoming cruel. It's about becoming solid. This is not about playing games. It's about seeing the game that was always there. Nietzsche was not teaching evil. He was describing reality. The same reality you live in now, just with better language and sharper honesty. You don't need to change everything today. That's another trap. Just choose one truth, the one that made you uncomfortable. Test it in real life before you sleep tonight. Delay a response. Set a boundary. Stay silent instead of explaining. Choose the hard action instead of the easy escape. If this opened your eyes, you already know what to do. Share it with someone who's ready. Subscribe if you want more of this kind of clarity. And if this hit you, write "I am the strategist" once in the comments, just to mark the day your mindset changed. The moment you start living by what you just heard, Something subtle happens around you. It's not dramatic, no one announces it, but the air changes. Conversations slow down, people choose their words more carefully with you. Some disappear without explanation. Others suddenly become respectful in a way they never were before. This is not coincidence. This is what happens when you stop running on borrowed values and begin operating from your own center. Nietzsche understood this phase very well. He knew that after the old gods die, after inherited meaning collapses, there is a dangerous middle zone, a psychological no man's land. You are no longer asleep, but you are not yet fully awake. In this space you feel stronger but also lonelier, clearer but less comforted. This is where most people panic and run back to the herd. They soften again. They apologize for their growth. They call their strength too much and cut themselves down so others feel safe. You will feel this pressure. It shows up when people say you've changed, and they don't mean it as a compliment. It shows up when your calm silence makes others uneasy, when you no longer overshare. Some will accuse you of being distant. When you stop reacting emotionally, they will try harder to provoke you. This is not because you are doing something wrong. It's because your old role is gone and people don't know how to place you anymore. Nietzsche would tell you that this discomfort is the price of becoming. He believed that transformation is not clean, it is not polite, it does not ask for permission. When you outgrow a version of yourself, you also outgrow the agreements that came with it. And every agreement you break silently creates tension. Look at how this plays out in daily life. At work, you stop volunteering for everything. You do your job well, but you don't carry other people's responsibilities. At first, nothing is said. Then subtle comments appear, jokes about you being less helpful, hints that you're not a team player. This is the herd defending itself. You were useful before. Now you are selective. That threatens the balance. In relationships, when you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop fixing every emotional fluctuation, the dynamic shifts. Some people lean in. They feel your groundedness and respect it. Others pull away or create drama. They were attached to your availability, not your presence. Nietzsche warned that many relationships are built on unconscious power exchanges. When you change your position, the relationship must either evolve or collapse. This is where many people make a mistake. They think strength means cutting everyone off, becoming cold, isolating. That is not strength. That is fear wearing armor. Nietzsche did not admire numbness. He admired vitality. Strength with depth, control without bitterness. The goal is not to reject humanity. The goal is to stop being consumed by it. Another layer Nietzsche explored is the danger of turning your new awareness into superiority. This is subtle and dangerous. Once you see the herd, once you see manipulation, once you see how values are used to control behavior, you might feel tempted to look down on others, to feel above them. Nietzsche despised this too. He saw it as another form of weakness, another ego trap. True strength does not need to announce itself. It does not need an audience. It does not need to feel better than anyone. It simply moves, quietly, decisively. When you start judging others for being asleep, you are still letting them occupy your inner world. Real independence is emotional neutrality. You see clearly, but you don't cling. This matters because power leaks through emotion. The more reactive you are, even in judgment, the more predictable you become. Nietzsche believed the highest form of strength was self-mastery. Not domination of others, but command over your impulses, your resentments, your need to be right. You will be tested here. Someone will misunderstand you on purpose. Someone will accuse you of motives you don't have. In the past, you would rush to correct them, to explain, to prove your good intentions. Now the stronger move is restraint. Let misunderstanding exist. Not every false story needs your response. Silence is not surrender when it is chosen. This ties into another idea Nietzsche explored deeply, the concept of masks. He believed that every strong individual wears masks, not to deceive maliciously, but to protect what is still forming. When you reveal everything, when you expose every thought and feeling, You give people access they have not earned. Transparency is praised in modern culture, but unchecked transparency is vulnerability without strategy. In practical terms, this means you don't need to share your plans with everyone. You don't need validation for your direction. You don't need to announce changes before they are real. Move in silence. Let results introduce you. This is not manipulation. It is containment. Energy protected becomes energy focused. As you continue, you'll notice your emotional range stabilizing. High highs and low lows flatten into something calmer. This can feel strange at first. You might wonder if you're becoming dull. You're not. You're becoming less externally controlled. Nietzsche saw emotional volatility as a sign of unresolved inner conflict. When your values align with your actions, inner noise reduces. But there is another challenge ahead. Once external approval no longer drives you, you face a deeper question. What do you actually want? Without borrowed goals, borrowed morals, borrowed ambitions, you may feel a temporary emptiness. This is normal. Nietzsche saw this as a necessary void. Creation requires space. You cannot build new values on a crowded foundation. Do not rush to fill this emptiness with distractions. This is where many people fail. They jump into hustle, consumption, or constant stimulation to avoid facing themselves. Sit with the silence. Let boredom sharpen your awareness. Over time, something clearer emerges, not loud desires, but quiet convictions. You'll begin to notice patterns in what drains you and what strengthens you. Certain conversations leave you heavy. Certain activities leave you clear. Certain people feel expensive. Others feel grounding. This is your internal compass recalibrating. Trust it. Nietzsche believed intuition sharpened through honesty with oneself. Not mystical intuition, but embodied understanding. As this alignment grows, your boundaries become simpler. You don't need long explanations. You don't negotiate your non-negotiables. You state them once calmly. If they are ignored, you act. No anger, no drama. Action is the language of self-respect. This is where power truly consolidates, not in domination, but in consistency. People don't test those who are consistent. They test those who are emotional, flexible under pressure, or eager to please. When your behavior matches your words repeatedly, a reputation forms around you without effort. Nietzsche also warned about stagnation. Strength is not a final state, it is a process. The moment you cling to an identity, even a strong one, it begins to decay. You are not the strong one. You are someone who is strengthening. This keeps you humble and alert. To maintain this, regularly question your motives. Are you acting from clarity or from resentment? From choice or from habit? This self-interrogation prevents corruption of power. Nietzsche feared what happens when strength loses self-awareness. It becomes tyranny, even internally. You might notice fewer people around you now. This is not loss, it is refinement. Quality replaces quantity. Interactions become fewer, but more real. You laugh less often, but more honestly. You speak less, but with more weight. And here is the paradox Nietzsche understood deeply. The more independent you become, the less you need to prove it. You don't announce boundaries, you live them. You don't demand respect, you embody it. You don't chase meaning, you create it through action aligned with your values. If you stop here, if you apply only half of this, you will still be ahead of where you were. But there is one final shift Nietzsche believed was essential. Acceptance of responsibility. Not blame. Responsibility. Once God is dead, there is no higher authority to blame, no cosmic excuse. Your life is your authorship. This can feel heavy, but it is also freeing. Every choice matters because it is yours. Every mistake teaches because you own it. Power grows when you stop outsourcing responsibility for your inner state. As you move forward, remember this. Strength does not look like aggression. It looks like calm presence under pressure. It looks like delayed reaction. It looks like selective engagement. It looks like knowing when to walk away without bitterness. You are not here to save everyone. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to live in alignment with what you know to be true, even when it costs you comfort. Nietzsche believed humanity's future depended on individuals who could bear this weight without collapsing into resentment or arrogance, individuals who could stand alone without becoming isolated, strong without becoming cruel, clear without becoming rigid. This is not a destination, it is a discipline, practiced daily in small moments, in how you respond, in what you tolerate, in what you choose not to explain. If you continue, if you stay honest, you will notice something rare. You will feel less controlled by fear, less distracted by noise, less desperate for validation, and more anchored in yourself. That is what comes after the death of old gods. Not chaos if you are willing to build, not emptiness if you are willing to create, but a quieter, sharper way of being that few ever reach because it demands responsibility, restraint, and courage at the same time. And once you taste that state, you won't want to go back.